So I just want to welcome you once again. I'm really excited to hear a lot about what you've been doing, your life as a whole. So I think the
Oh,
easiest place is to start. Can you take us back to New Jersey? You know what I'm saying? How would you describe your
okay.
childhood growing up and all that?
Okay. Well, um, before I do that, I'll take it back one more step.
Okay.
Because we originally landed like my family in Minnesota. So like St. Paul, Twin Cities.
Okay.
So so I was there until I was about 12 or so,
Got
and
you.
then we moved to Jersey.
So your family as a whole
But
moved from Nigeria?
so no, they okay. My parents moved here. I was
I
born
see.
here.
Okay.
So
Okay.
like
Got you.
I was born like a month or two
Oh wow.
after they
Uh,
had moved.
got you.
Um, and it was one of those things where like timing kind of worked out in terms of like I think my dad had applied for like a student visa, like to
Hmm.
continue studying, and was then also able to like bring over my mom later because I think he came first. I don't know. They got a whole backstory that they just don't tell us, which
Oh.
I feel like that's pretty normal.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so spent the first 12 years or so of my life in St. Paul. But in terms of like formative years, that's why I count like Jersey, because
Hmm.
those first like five, you're not really
Yeah,
you're not really
you're
conscious
not really
or
there.
yeah, like you're
Yeah,
there, but you don't know what's happening.
got you. And
But
then
yeah.
I
Um,
guess sorry to cut you off. So when you said you spent about 12 years in Minnesota though, or five?
12.
12, okay. You don't really
So,
consider like the
mhm.
5 to 12 portion? I feel like that's a pretty significant time of life.
Yeah, it is, but I think so that's why I say it's like it's part and part, and it's one of those things where I think I made more of a home and like found more of myself in Jersey and
Got
like
you.
Jersey, New York and stuff. And then on top of that, like after college, I'm gonna snooze these like Slack notifications so y'all can
Tell them you're out of
um
the office.
no, I mean like it's one of those things where I feel like when you're working in media, like everything is kind of like always buzzing and
Yeah.
there are a lot of different like do not disturbs that you need to like turn on before. But anyway,
Yeah.
so part of the reason why I consider Jersey and New York kind of like more formative, it's just that that's where I spent like my teen years. And I feel like that's kind of where you try and like navigate, you like stretch yourself, you try and like figure out a little bit more about who you are
Hmm.
versus like when I was in Minnesota, like I was a kid. So it was whatever was around me and like the people. Um, and because I'm like a shyer, surprise, I'm a shyer person.
Yeah.
um, I also feel like I made like deeper friendships like later
Got you.
in my life.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay. So to you, New Jersey is home, but it's not like where you started out. I see.
Yeah.
Got you.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. I feel like I have a couple different homes though.
okay. And I'm always curious when I'm talking to other, Nigerians because I feel like we all I don't know how it happens, but we all tend to share similar childhoods. Like I don't know what it is, maybe it's the culture, but like I
It's the
guess
culture.
yeah, it's definitely the culture. So I guess growing up, was it kind of like your parents were kind of pushing you to, hey, we're in America now, we got to make sure you do this. Like how was their I guess influence on what they wanted you to do or be?
I think like they're always influencing like the ways that you like show up and the things you do because
Yeah.
like I feel like so heavily ingrained into our culture especially is like that you are an extension and a reflection of your parents and so therefore you kind of have to be mindful of the way that you like move in the external world and like
Very
what you
true.
share and things like that. But I know that like when I was a kid, I definitely wanted to be a doctor, like myself, because I just liked helping people and it just felt, and it's one of those things where I know that it's either that I knew that my dad was one and I was like, oh cool, like that seems awesome and like I want to do that.
Yeah.
And then realize like, oh no, I'm not good at any of the things that like I need to do that.
Yeah.
Um but like they were definitely pushing for like stable careers. Like
Yeah.
I think they gave up on like me being a doctor pretty early
Oh,
because
they gave
they,
up on you being a doctor.
yeah, Yeah, and it's not it's because okay, so where I grew up in Jersey, like there's this kind of like magnet school in every single town, like all the different townships, like they through your property taxes, there's a budget essentially that they help like subsidize that education because
Yeah.
it's a private school technically, but because they want like a wide range of people, you have to like test into it, and then like, you know, it's one of those things that you just it's just part of it. I don't
Yeah.
know how to describe it aside from that. But in doing that, like when you get to eighth grade is when you like hit the time to like test into that high school.
Got you.
And it's broken up into different academies. So like one of them's like medicine, and then there's another one that's like, you know, science and tech, like visual arts, like fashion. Like it's like a technical school. So they have all these different kind of like tracks that you can be on.
Hmm.
Business, I think, is another one. And at that point in time, I was like, oh, like let me try to like get into the medical one. And like I think I chose like maybe it was business or something. And then the last one was like the most creative one, which was I guess general arts. I don't
Genre.
know.
Yeah.
Um, but I wasn't like I didn't have an art portfolio. I wasn't good at like drawing, but like creative.
Yeah.
So I was like, hopefully, yeah. I didn't get in that to it.
I see.
And so it's and I think that's also one of those things where it's like my mom knew that like, oh, I feel like you're aspiring to this because I feel like your dad really wants you to do it, but like,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
So I feel like they were supportive in that sense, but at the
But
same
that's
time they knew in their heart of hearts it's like this girl does not do
right.
science, she doesn't like she
This,
does math okay, but she's not excelling at it to the point
yeah.
where you're like, oh yeah,
They're
this
like
is a track she's gonna
they
be
said
on.
this ain't for her. Okay. And one key thing that you said that I realized I never